She returned after 11 years, not alone, but with two perfect copies of the Korean mafia heir. The DNA test confirmed what everyone feared. They were his sons, and now someone wanted them dead. The rain fell like bullets on the streets of Seoul. She stood under the neon glow of a convenience store, two boys pressed close to her sides. Their faces, sharp jawlines, dark eyes that held storms, were ghosts of a man she'd spent 11 years trying to forget. Inside the glass tower across the street, he sat in silence. 32 now. Harder. The kind of man whose name made politicians sweat and rivals disappear. He didn't need guns anymore. His word was the weapon. "Sir, there's someone." His bodyguard's voice died when he saw her through the window. Time stopped. She looked up. Their eyes met through rain and glass and a decade of unanswered questions. He stood. The room felt smaller. "Bring her to me." His voice was ice, but his hands shook. She walked into his office like she was walking into her own execution. The boys stayed outside with guards who looked at them too long, confused by the resemblance. "You have exactly 1 minute to explain," he said, not turning from the window, "why you're not dead." "I never wanted to leave." "But you did." He turned. His face was carved from stone. 11 years. Not a word. Not a trace. "I was protecting them." Them. Silence hung between them like a blade. "The boys outside," she whispered. "They're yours." The world tilted. He crossed the room in 3 strides, gripped her shoulders. Up close she could see it, the boy she'd loved beneath the monster he'd become. "You're lying. I have the DNA test. I had it done before I came back." Her voice cracked. "I ran because someone wanted them dead before they were even born. And now, they found us." His grip loosened. Outside, thunder rolled. The lab results came back at 3 a.m. 99.9% match. He stood in the empty conference room, staring at the paper like it might catch fire. 2 sons, 10 years old, his blood running through veins he'd never felt beat. She sat in the corner, watching him unravel. "Who knew you were pregnant?" His voice was barely human. "Only one person, your father's oldest advisor. He told me if I didn't disappear, the family would never accept heirs from an outsider. He said they'd kill me, kill the babies, make it look like an accident." His jaw tightened. His name. "It doesn't matter anymore. He's dead. Car accident 5 years ago." Convenient. Or maybe someone made sure he'd never talk. She stood, walked toward him slowly. "I came back because 3 weeks ago someone left a photo of the boys at my door. No note. Just their faces circled in red." His eyes darkened. "You should have called me." "And say what? Hey, remember me? I stole your children and hid them for a decade?" Her laugh was bitter. "You would have killed me yourself." He moved closer. Too close. "I should." His breath was warm against her temple. "But I won't." "Why?" "Because they need a mother." He stepped back, cold again. "And I need answers." Outside the window, the city glittered like broken glass. The hunt had only just begun. The penthouse felt like a cage made of marble and bulletproof glass. She watched the boys sleep in the guest room, their small bodies curled together like they'd done since birth, instinctively protecting each other. They didn't know yet. Didn't know the man in the next room was the father she'd told them was dead. He stood in the doorway behind her, silent as death itself. "They have your eyes," she whispered without turning. "Everyone who sees them knows. That's why we had to hide. What are their names?" The question caught her off guard. So simple. So human. Minho and Jiho. Her voice softened. Minho was born first, 3 minutes older. He's protective, serious. Jiho is lighter. He laughs more, dreams more. He stepped into the room, moving like a shadow, stood beside her. For the first time in 11 years, they existed in the same space without anger between them. "I would have protected you," he said quietly. "All of you. You were 21. Your father was still alive. The organization was at war with the Yakuza. You barely had control of your own life." She finally looked at him. "I was 19 and terrified. When that man told me I had to choose between staying and watching our children die, or running and giving them a chance." Her voice broke. "What would you have done?" He said nothing, because he knew. He would have told her to run too. "My head of security will assign a team to you, 24-hour protection. No one gets close without clearance. He turned to leave, then stopped. Tomorrow, I want to meet them, properly. They think you're a businessman. I am. His smile was sharp as a knife. Just not the legal kind. She watched him disappear into the hallway. Through the window, Soul sprawled beneath them like a kingdom he'd conquered but never wanted. Power was his inheritance. Loneliness was the price. In the morning, everything would change. Morning came with the smell of coffee and fear. The boys sat at the dining table, small and watchful, studying the stranger who claimed to be their mother's old friend. Minho's eyes never left him. Jiho kicked his feet under the chair, nervous energy radiating off him like heat. You're really rich, huh? Jiho said suddenly. Jiho, she started, but he raised a hand. I am. Like Batman rich or just regular rich? For the first time in years, something close to a smile touched his face. Somewhere in between. Minho leaned forward. Mom says you're going to keep us safe. The smile died. I am. From what? Silence stretched. She held her breath. He looked at the boy, his son, and saw himself at that age, already learning to ask the questions that mattered. Already understanding the world was not safe. From people who don't want you to exist. He said simply. But they'll have to go through me first. And no one has managed that yet. Minho nodded slowly. Satisfied. Jiho just stared. Something like awe in his young face. The moment shattered when his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen. His expression went dark. Stay here. He stood, gestured to the guards at the door. No one leaves this floor. What is it? Her voice was tight. Someone just sent me a video. He looked at her, and she saw it. The predator beneath the suit. Of the boys. Playing in a park in Busan. 2 days ago. Her blood turned to ice. That's impossible. We were careful. I changed our names. They've been watching you for months. He was already moving toward his office. Maybe years. She followed, heart pounding. He pulled up the video on the main screen. Grainy footage. A park. Minho pushing Jiho on a swing. And there, in the corner of the frame, barely visible, a red dot. Targeting laser. Oh, God. Whoever sent this wants me to know they can reach them any time. His jaw was granite. This is a message. What does it mean? He turned to her. For a moment, she saw past the crime lord, past the empire, past everything he'd become. She saw the scared boy who'd loved her once, who maybe never stopped. It means war. Within an hour, the penthouse transformed into a command center. Men in dark suits filled the rooms, speaking in low voices, checking weapons with practiced efficiency. She'd pulled the boys into the bedroom, trying to keep them calm while their world tilted on its axis. He stood at the window, phone pressed to his ear, speaking rapid Korean she only half understood. When he hung up, he looked older, tired. My contacts traced the video upload. It came from inside my own organization. She felt the ground drop. A traitor. Someone who knew you were coming back, who's been waiting for this moment. He poured whiskey, drank it in one swallow. My father had enemies. Some I inherited. Some I created myself. But this. He gestured to the screen, still showing her sons in the crosshairs. This is personal. What do? We find out who wants my children dead. His voice was soft, lethal. And we make them regret being born. A knock. His second-in-command entered, a thin man with glasses and the eyes of a shark. Sir, we've identified 3 possible suspects, all with motive, all with access. Show me. 3 faces appeared on the screen. She recognized one immediately. That's your uncle. Step-uncle, he corrected coldly. My father's half-brother. He always believed he should have inherited control. And the others? Park Sung-min, my father's former financial advisor. He disappeared after the transition of power. And this? He pointed to a younger man, handsome, cold-eyed. Is Kang Dae-jung, my cousin. We grew up together. You think family would do this? He laughed, bitter and sharp. Family is always the one holding the knife. The door burst open, a guard bleeding from his temple. Sir, we have a breach. Gunfire exploded in the hallway. He moved faster than thought, pulling her behind the desk. Get the boys! Now. She ran, heart in her throat, into the bedroom. The boys were pressed against the wall, eyes wide with terror. She grabbed them both, pulled them toward the panic room he'd shown her earlier. More gunfire, shouting, the sound of bodies hitting the floor. They made it to the concealed door. She punched in the code with shaking fingers. It slid open. She pushed the boys inside. "Mom, what's happening?" Jiho's voice was small, broken. "Stay here. Don't open this door for anyone except me or—" She hesitated. "Or him. The businessman?" Minho's eyes were too knowing. "Yes." She closed the door, turned. He was standing there, gun in hand, blood on his white shirt. Not his blood. "How many?" she asked. "4. All dead." His eyes were empty. This was the man the city feared. They came in through the service elevator. Someone gave them access codes. "The boys are safe. For now." He grabbed her arm. "But this was just a test. Next time, they'll send more." She looked at him. Really looked at him. The boy she'd loved was gone. In his place stood something forged in violence and power. A man who'd killed 4 people in under 2 minutes and didn't even seem out of breath. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm sorry I brought this to your door." "You didn't." His grip softened. "I did. The moment I fell in love with you, I marked you for death. That's what it means to be close to me. Then maybe I should take them and— No." The word was final. Absolute. "They're mine, you're mine, and I protect what's mine." Outside, sirens wailed. Police he probably owned. Cleanup crews that would make the bodies disappear. "Welcome home," she thought bitterly. "Welcome to hell." The safe house was in Gangnam, hidden behind a restaurant that served as a front for money laundering. The kind of place where questions died before they were asked. She sat with the boys in a room with no windows, watching them try to process everything their childhood had just become. The walls were thick, soundproof. She wondered how many secrets had been buried in this room before theirs. Minho sat rigid on the couch, hands folded in his lap like a miniature executive. Jiho curled beside him, knees pulled to his chest, eyes red from crying he'd tried to hide. They looked so small, so fragile. Nothing like the sons of a crime lord should look. "Is he our father?" Minho asked quietly, not looking at her, looking at his hands. She'd known this moment would come, had rehearsed it 1,000 times in her mind. But not like this. Not with bodies still warm in the penthouse they'd fled. Not with gunpowder still hanging in the air like a curse. "Yes." The word fell between them like a stone into still water, ripples spreading, changing everything. Jiho's eyes filled with tears, fresh ones. "You said he was dead." "I lied. To protect you." "From what?" Minho's voice was hard, too hard for 10 years old. "From him?" "No. From people who would use you to hurt him. From a world that would see you as weapons instead of children." "Like tonight?" Minho's jaw clenched. His father's jaw. His father's anger. When those men came with guns? She had no answer. What could she say? That she'd tried? That 11 years of running had been for nothing? That the moment she'd brought them back to Seoul, she'd signed their death warrants? "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." Jiho buried his face in his knees. Minho just stared at the wall, processing, calculating, already learning to survive. The sound of the door opening made them all flinch. He stepped inside and the room felt smaller. Darker. He'd changed suits. All evidence of violence erased from his appearance. But she could see it in his eyes. The weight of what he'd done. What he'd always have to do. 4 men dead by his hand. 4 more names added to a list too long to remember. He stood in the doorway, studying his sons like artifacts in a museum. Unsure how to approach. Unsure if he had the right. "May I sit?" His voice was careful. Gentle in a way she'd never heard before. She nodded. He crossed the room slowly, sat in the chair across from the couch, kept distance between them, let them breathe. For a long moment, no one spoke. The silence was heavy with everything unspoken. 11 years of absence. 10 years of lies. A lifetime of consequences. "I know you have questions," he finally said, speaking to them like adults. Because in his world, childhood was a luxury no one could afford. "Are you a criminal?" Minho's directness was startling. No fear, just need for truth. "Yes." No hesitation, no softening, no pretty words to make it easier. Just truth, raw and unfiltered. Minho absorbed this. What kind? The organized kind. I run an organization that controls certain industries in Seoul and beyond. Drugs? Some. Not my focus, but part of the business. Gambling? Yes. Murder? The word hung in the air like smoke. Yes. Jiho made a small sound. She reached for him, but he pulled away, pulled into himself. She watched her son retreat from reality, and her heart broke. Have you killed people? Minho pressed, relentless, needing to know exactly who his father was. Yes. How many? He paused, considered lying, decided against it. I stopped counting at 30, that was 12 years ago. The number landed like a bomb. Jiho whimpered. Minho's face went white. Why? Minho's voice cracked. Why would you do that? Because in my world you kill or you die. There's no middle ground, no peaceful retirement, no walking away. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Your mother tried to save you from this. She gave up everything to keep you innocent. She lived in poverty, in fear, always moving, never safe. Because she loved you more than anything. More than me. More than the life she could have had. Minho looked at her, saw her for the first time, really saw her. The sacrifices written in the lines around her eyes. The years of fear that had aged her beyond her 29 years. But now you're here, he continued, and you deserve to know who I am. Not the lie, not the story, the truth. A monster, Jiho whispered, finally speaking, voice small and broken. You're a monster. Something flickered across his face, pain maybe, or recognition, or acceptance of a truth he'd known for years. Yes, he said softly, meeting his son's eyes, not flinching. I am. I've done terrible things. Things that keep me awake at night. Things I can never take back or make right. I've hurt people, destroyed families, built an empire on blood and fear and suffering. He stood. Walked to the window that showed only concrete wall. But I'm also your father. And I will burn this entire city down before I let anyone hurt you. I will kill anyone who threatens you. I will destroy anyone who tries to take you from me. He turned back. That's who I am. Monster and father. Both. Always. The room fell silent. Outside, the restaurant hummed with normal life. People eating, laughing, celebrating birthdays and anniversaries. Unaware that beneath them sat the most dangerous man in Seoul, making promises to sons who'd never asked to be born into darkness. Minho stood, walked across the room slowly, studied his father's face with intensity beyond his years, cataloging features, finding himself in this stranger's face. You have a scar. Here. He touched his own left eyebrow, mirror image of the thin white line that cut through his father's. Knife fight. I was 16. Did you win? I'm alive. Did the other person live? No. Minho nodded slowly, processing, accepting. Then, surprising everyone, he extended his hand. Small and pale against the harsh fluorescent light. I'm Minho. Nice to meet you. The crime lord stared at the small hand offered to him. This boy, his blood, extending friendship despite everything, despite the truth, despite the horror. He took the hand, shook it gently, carefully, like it might break. Nice to meet you, son. The word, son, seemed to cost him something. She saw him swallow hard, saw the emotion he fought to control. Jiho didn't move, didn't speak, just watched with eyes that held too much fear and too much understanding. He was the sensitive one, the one who felt everything too deeply. And right now, he was drowning. Hours passed. The boys eventually fell asleep on the couch, exhausted by fear and revelation. She covered them with blankets, smoothed their hair. Minho's face, even in sleep, was serious. Jiho's was tear-stained. She found him on the roof of the building, smoking a cigarette and staring at the city he ruled. Seoul at night was beautiful from up here. All the ugliness hidden by distance and lights. You shouldn't be up here alone, he said without turning. Always aware, always calculating angles of attack. Your men are everywhere, I'm never alone. Good. He took a long drag. That needs to stay true. Always. She stood beside him. The night air was cold, November in Seoul, winter coming. Below, the city glittered like a promise that neither of them believed anymore, like hope wrapped in neon and lies. Jiho's terrified of you, she said quietly. He should be. No self-pity, just fact. He's your son, which makes it worse. He flicked ash over the edge. Everything I touch turns dark. You knew that once. That's why you ran. I ran because I wanted them to have a chance at normal, at happiness, at a life that wasn't defined by violence. There is no normal, not for them, not anymore. He turned to her. Moonlight caught the scar on his eyebrow, the one Minho had recognized. The moment that video was sent, their childhood ended. They're heirs now, targets, weapons, bargaining chips, everything I never wanted them to be. Then maybe, she started. Don't. His voice was sharp, cutting. Don't say we should send them away. Don't say they'd be safer without me, because we both know that's a lie now. Whoever wants them dead will follow them anywhere, to any country, any hiding place. The only place they're safe is by my side, where I can see them, where I can kill anyone who gets close. She wanted to argue, wanted to scream that there had to be another way. But he was right. The video proved it. Someone had tracked them for months, maybe years, had known where they were, had waited, had watched. The boys had never been safe. Her 11 years of running had been an illusion. I hate this, she whispered. I know. He reached out, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. The gesture was so gentle, so heartbreakingly familiar. Something he'd done 1,000 times when they were young and stupid and in love. I hate it too, but hate doesn't change reality. We could fight, I am fighting, that's all I know how to do. His hand lingered on her cheek. But this fight, it's different. Because I'm not fighting for territory or power or respect. I'm fighting for them, for you, for something that actually matters. For a moment, they were 19 and 21 again, in love and reckless and believing they could beat the world. She remembered summer nights on the Han River, his laugh rare and precious. The way he'd held her like she was the only real thing in his life. I never stopped, she whispered. What? Loving you. I never stopped. Tears burned her eyes. Even when I hated you for what you were, even when I was terrified of you, even when I was lying to our sons about you being dead, I never stopped. His jaw clenched. You should have. I know. Would have been easier. I know. They stood there, inches apart, 11 years of separation between them like a canyon. He looked like he wanted to kiss her, looked like he wanted to run, looked like he was dying inside. His phone rang. The moment shattered like glass. Talk! His voice went cold. Professional. The crime lord returning. He listened. His expression darkened. When? How many? No police. I'll handle it myself. He hung up, looked at her, and she knew. Knew before he said it. Knew it was bad. They found Park Sung-min, my father's old financial advisor. And he's dead, tortured first. Whoever killed him wanted information. He started toward the stairs. About the boys. About you. About everything. Her blood turned to ice. What does that mean? He stopped. Turned. In the dim light of the rooftop, he looked like something carved from shadow and violence. Something that belonged to the darkness. It means someone's cleaning house, tying up loose ends. His eyes met hers. It means this is bigger than I thought. The conspiracy goes deeper, and we're running out of time. Who would? I don't know yet, but I will. He pulled his gun, checked the clip with practiced efficiency. Stay with the boys. Don't leave this building. Don't trust anyone except my head of security. Where are you going? To the morgue. To see exactly what they did to Park. To understand what we're really facing. He started down the stairs, then paused. If I don't come back, don't say that. If I don't come back, there's a man named Kim. He has instructions, money, papers. He'll get you out of Korea to somewhere safe. I'm not leaving without you. You will if I'm dead. His voice was flat. Final. Promise me. She wanted to refuse. Wanted to say they were in this together. But she saw it in his eyes. Saw the reality he'd accepted long ago. That he was already dead. Had been since the day he took his father's place. Had been since the moment he became what the city needed him to be. I promise, she lied. He knew, saw through it, but didn't call her on it. Just nodded and disappeared into the stairwell. She stood alone on the roof, watching the city that had taken everything from them. And she made her own promise, that if he died, she'd finish what he started. That if they killed him, she'd become what he'd been. For their sons. For the man she'd never stopped loving, even if it destroyed her. The interrogation room smelled like blood and fear and old concrete. She wasn't supposed to be there. He'd made that clear. But she'd insisted. Needed to see. Needed to understand what her return had unleashed, what loving him cost. The room was bare except for a metal table, 2 chairs, and Kang Dae-jung zip-tied to one of them. His cousin, his family, the man who'd tried to kill their children. Dae-jung's face was a mess, swollen, purple, blood dried in the corners of his mouth. They'd beaten him for hours before bringing him here, softened him up, made him understand this wasn't a negotiation. He stood against the wall, perfectly still, watching, waiting, the predator deciding when to strike. Why? The question was simple. The answer would be anything but. Dae-jung laughed. The sound was wet, broken. He spat blood on the concrete floor. You really don't know? Enlighten me. Your father promised me. Dae-jung's eyes burned with hatred that had been simmering for decades. After you, I would inherit. I was his nephew, his blood. I spent 15 years being loyal, doing the dirty work, handling things you were too soft to touch, waiting my turn, believing. So you tried to have my children killed. I tried to preserve what should have been mine. Dae-jung strained against the zip ties, plastic cutting into his wrists. But that old fool advisor warned her, told her to run. By the time I found out she was pregnant, she'd already disappeared, like a ghost. You've been looking for her ever since. For 11 years. He smiled through broken teeth. Every resource, every contact, searching. And then she just came back. Walked right into your tower like she had every right. Like those bastard children deserved to breathe the same air as real family. The temperature in the room dropped. She felt it. Saw the shift in his body language. Saw the monster wake up. He moved so fast Dae-jung didn't see it coming. The punch shattered his cousin's nose. Bone crunching, blood exploding. Dae-jung's head snapped back, the chair tipping, crashing to the floor. You sent men to my home. His voice was quiet, deadly. Where my sons were sleeping. Your sons. Dae-jung laughed, choking on blood. They're not princes. They're mistakes. Born from a woman who wasn't even Korean, who had nothing. No family, no name, no worth. Just some pretty face you were stupid enough to... Another punch. This one took teeth. She heard them rattle across the floor like dice. She watched, unable to look away. This was who he was. Who he'd always been beneath the expensive suits and carefully controlled image. Violence made flesh, power made personal. He grabbed Dae-jung by the hair, yanked his head back. Careful. That woman you're insulting, she's the only reason you're still breathing. Is she? Dae-jung's laugh was manic now. Pain and hatred making him reckless. Or is she the reason you're weak? The reason you'll lose everything? Tell me about Park Sung-min. The subject change was deliberate. Strategic. Did you kill him too? Dae-jung's expression shifted. Confusion flickered through the pain. Fear touched his eyes. I didn't. I don't know what... Wrong answer. He picked up the chair, slammed it upright. Dae-jung screamed, Park is dead. Tortured. Someone wanted to know what he told her 11 years ago. Someone wanted to know where she'd been hiding. And you're going to tell me who. I swear, I never touched Park. After he died in that car accident 5 years ago, I thought... He stopped. They both realized it at the same time. It wasn't an accident, she whispered from the corner. No. He turned to her, understanding dawning cold and clear. It wasn't. Then who? Her voice was shaking. If Dae-jung didn't kill him, who did? Who else knew? The door opened before he could answer. His uncle stepped in. The stepbrother of his dead father. Older, distinguished, silver hair perfectly styled, wearing a suit that cost more than most people's cars. Everything about him screamed wealth and power and legitimacy. Everything about him was a lie. Sorry I'm late, the uncle said smoothly. Traffic was terrible. You know how Seoul gets at this hour. The room went silent. She felt the air change, felt everything click into a picture she didn't want to see. Uncle. His voice was flat, empty. What are you doing here? I heard you caught the rat. The uncle smiled, walked to Dae-jung, Studied him like a painting in a museum. Good work. I always knew this one was trouble. How did you know I had him? Your men talk. Word spreads. The uncle pulled out a silk handkerchief, wiped imaginary dust from his sleeve. I came to offer my support. Family should stick together in times like these. Everything clicked into place. She saw it happen in his eyes, saw the pieces fall together, saw the truth land like a bomb. It was you. His voice was barely human. All of it. You had Park killed? You've been using Dae-jung as a pawn. You're the one who sent that video. You're the one who's been hunting my family. The uncle's smile widened. Predatory. Proud. You always were the smart one. Your father used to say that. My son sees everything. I should have killed you years ago. Why? The word was torn from somewhere deep. Somewhere that still believed family meant something. Why would you do this? Because your father made a mistake 30 years ago. The uncle's calm facade cracked. Venom leaked through. He chose power over family. He was younger. I was the eldest. By rights, by tradition, by blood. The organization should have been mine. But he took it. Stole it. Used his charisma and his violence and his ambition to take what belonged to me. So this is revenge. This is justice. The uncle pulled a gun from inside his jacket. Smooth. Practiced. I waited. I watched. I built my own network inside your organization. Loyal men who remember the old ways, who believe in tradition, who think you're weak. Guards moved toward the door. He raised a hand, stopped them. And when I heard about the girl, the uncle continued, about the pregnancy, I saw my opportunity. If you had heirs, the succession would be secured forever. Your sons would inherit after you. My chance would die with your father's generation. So you tried to have them killed before they were born. I told Park to scare her away, to make her understand she wasn't welcome, that her children would never be accepted. The uncle's gun swung toward her. She froze. But he got soft, started feeling guilty, grew a conscience at the worst possible time. So I arranged his accident, made it look natural, and spent the next 5 years waiting for her to surface. You were watching me, she whispered, the whole time. The moment you entered Korea, I knew. The moment you walked into his tower, I smiled, because you brought me exactly what I needed. The uncle pressed the gun to Dae-jung's head. Everyone stays very still, or my dear nephew's conspiracy partner dies. Not that it would be a great loss. You're going to kill me anyway, Dae-jung said flatly. Understanding finally. I was always disposable. True, but this way is faster. The uncle's finger tightened on the trigger. Wait. His voice cut through the tension. You don't need to do this. Oh, but I do. Loose ends, nephew. You taught me that. What do you want? Control returning to his voice, strategy replacing shock. You clearly have a plan. So what is it? I want you to understand that you can't win this. The uncle's smile was poisonous. Satisfied. I have 20 men inside your organization, loyal to me, waiting for my signal. Your head of security? Mine. 3 of your bodyguards? Mine. Even your accountant who handles the offshore money? Mine. Her blood froze. He'd been compromised, infiltrated, betrayed by people he trusted. You're bluffing. Am I? The uncle tilted his head. You want to test that theory? Want to call your head of security right now and see who he really answers to? Want to activate your emergency protocols and watch them fail because the men who are supposed to protect you will be the ones putting bullets in your skull? Silence. Thick as smoke. Heavy as graves. What do you want? He repeated. Quieter now. Calculating. Step down. Publicly. Call a meeting of the family. Announce your retirement. Name me as your successor. The uncle's gun never wavered. Do that, and I'll let them live. You can take your little family and disappear. Live quietly somewhere far away. The Philippines, maybe. Or Thailand. I don't care. Just get out of Korea and never come back. And if I refuse, then I kill everyone you've ever loved, starting with her. The gun swung back to her. Then the boys. Slowly, painfully. While you watch. And then when you're broken and begging, I'll kill you too. And I'll take over anyway. She stepped forward, heart pounding. Do it. Everyone turned to stare. What? His voice was sharp, warning. Step down. Give him what he wants. She looked at him, eyes burning with tears and determination. I didn't survive 11 years of running just to watch my sons die because of your pride. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. She moved closer. This empire, this power, this legacy, it's not worth their lives. It's not worth anything. You said yourself everything you touch turns dark. So stop touching. Walk away. Let it all burn. Listen to her. The uncle purred. She's smarter than you. For a moment, she saw something break in his eyes. The weight of it all. The years of violence and blood and power that had never made him happy. Never filled the emptiness. Never been worth what it cost. Think about Minho, she pressed, voice cracking. Think about Jiho. They're 10 years old. They deserve a life. They deserve a father who comes home at night, who doesn't have blood on his hands, who doesn't... Enough. The word was quiet, final. Please, I said enough. He looked at Dae-jung, bleeding in the chair. At his uncle, wearing triumph-like cologne. At her, the only woman he'd ever loved, begging him to surrender everything he'd built. No, he said quietly. What? The uncle's smile faltered. I said no. He turned to his uncle, met his eyes. You're going to kill us anyway. The moment I step down, we're all dead. You can't leave loose ends. You taught my father that. He taught me. And you just confirmed it. Then you've chosen death. The uncle's voice hardened. For all of you. No, I've chosen war. He smiled. Cold. Empty. And you just made a critical mistake. What mistake? You talked too long. Gave me too much information. Told me exactly who's compromised in my organization. He pulled his phone from his pocket. And more importantly, you assumed my head of security was the only one who knew I was here. The uncle's expression changed. What did you... The door exploded inward. Guards poured in. Not his usual men. New faces. Hard faces. Loyal faces. The uncle spun, fired, missed, was tackled to the ground. His gun skittered across concrete. Dae-jung screamed, tried to run, took a bullet to the spine, fell, twitched, went still. She dropped to the floor, covered her head, gunfire, shouting, bodies hitting walls, the sound of bones breaking. Violence distilled to its purest form. When silence fell, she looked up. He stood in the center of the chaos, gun in hand, blood on his white shirt. Not his blood. Never his blood. His uncle lay on the floor, legs shattered, gasping for air. How? The uncle wheezed. I've known about your network for 6 months, been feeding you false information, letting you think you were winning, waiting for you to get confident, waiting for you to make your move. He knelt beside his uncle. The men you thought were yours, they've been reporting to me the whole time. Your 20 loyalists, 12 are already in custody. The others will be by morning. You can't. I already have. He stood. Looked at Dae-jung's body. At the guard securing the scene. At her, still crouched on the floor, shaking. Take him to the medical facility. Keep him alive. I want him to stand trial in front of the family. I want everyone to see what betrayal costs. Sir. One of the guards nodded. They dragged the uncle away. His screams echoed down the hallway. Then they were alone. Her and him and Dae-jung's corpse between them. You knew, she whispered. You knew the whole time. I suspected. Tonight confirmed it. You could have died. I was always going to die. He helped her up. His hands were gentle despite the blood. The question was never if, only when. And whether I'd take my enemies with me. She looked at him. Really looked at him. The boy she'd loved was completely gone. In his place stood something forged in violence and paranoia and survival. A man who'd played chess with his family's lives and won through deception and cruelty. I don't know if I can do this, she whispered. Do what? Love someone who... She gestured helplessly at the room. The blood. The body. The evidence of what he was. This. You don't have to love me. His voice was empty. You just have to let me protect our sons. That's not enough. It's all I have to offer. They stood there, inches apart, everything broken between them. She wanted to reach for him. Wanted to run. Wanted to scream. Wanted to cry. Wanted to do anything except accept that this was their reality. The boys, she finally said. Do they have to know? Eventually, but not tonight. He moved toward the door. Tonight they can sleep believing their father is just a businessman who had a late meeting. And tomorrow? Tomorrow we start building something different, something better. You really believe that's possible? He paused in the doorway, looked back at her. I have to. Because if it's not, then I've wasted my entire life on nothing. Hours later, she found him in the penthouse office, staring at security footage. The boys were asleep, safe, guarded by men she hoped he actually trusted this time. Can't sleep? She asked from the doorway. Never could. He didn't turn. Too many enemies, too many variables. She crossed to him, stood beside him. On the screens, Seoul lived and breathed and moved. Millions of people unaware that their city was controlled by the man beside her. I meant what I said, she told him. In the interrogation room, about not knowing if I can do this. I know. But I also meant what I said on the roof. About never stopping. She touched his hand. So I'm going to try. For them. For us. For the boy you used to be. That boy is dead. Maybe. But maybe he's just buried. Under all the violence and power and fear. She squeezed his hand. Maybe we can dig him out. He finally looked at her, tears he'd never let fall shining in his eyes. You're asking for a miracle. I'm asking for a chance. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then slowly, he pulled her close, held her like she might disappear again, like she was the only real thing in his world of lies and blood. Okay, he whispered into her hair. Okay. They stood like that until dawn broke over Seoul. Until the night's violence became yesterday's problem. Until the present was all that mattered. In the morning, Jiho finally spoke to him at breakfast. Not much, just a quiet, good morning, that meant more than any speech. Minho watched them both, calculating, understanding more than any child should. Did you win? Minho asked his father. Last night? He set down his coffee, looked at his son. Yes. Are we safe now? He wanted to lie. Wanted to promise everything would be okay forever. But he'd already lied enough for one lifetime. To himself, to them, to everyone. Safer, he said instead. But safety is something we'll have to fight for every day. That's the price of who we are. Minho absorbed this. Will you teach me? Teach you what? How to fight. How to protect our family. The boy's eyes were hard, determined. If being your son means being a target, then I want to know how to be dangerous. She started to protest. He raised a hand. You're 10 years old, he said gently. I'm your heir, Minho corrected. That's what everyone keeps saying. That's why people want us dead. So teach me, make me strong enough that they won't dare. He looked at his son, saw himself, saw the cycle continuing, saw everything he'd tried to prevent happening anyway. Okay, he finally said, but we start slow, and you have to promise me something. What? That you'll stay a child as long as you can. That you'll laugh and play and be stupid and innocent. Because once you step into my world fully, you can never go back. Minho nodded solemnly. Jiho just watched, quiet and uncertain, still afraid of his father but starting to understand him. That night, the three of them stood on the balcony, watching the city sleep. The boys between them, his hands on Minho's shoulder, hers holding Jiho close. A family forged in violence, a family trying to survive. What happens now? She asked. Now? He looked at his sons, at the woman who'd saved them, at the empire that had cost him everything and given him nothing but pain. Now we build something new. Not an empire of fear, but a family that's stronger than any organization, stronger than any legacy. You think that's possible? For someone like you? He smiled. Sad. Hopeful. Real. I have to believe it is. Because if it's not... He pulled them all closer. Then what was any of this for? Below them, Seoul glittered. Indifferent. Eternal. The city that had made him and broken him and given him back what he'd lost. The city where his father had built an empire and his uncle had tried to steal it. The city where his sons would grow up learning to be men in a world that wanted them dead. But tonight, holding his family close, he felt something he hadn't felt in 11 years. Since the night she'd disappeared and taken his heart with her. Since the night he'd become what the city needed instead of what he wanted to be. Peace. It wouldn't last. He knew that. Tomorrow would bring new threats. new enemies, new prices to pay for the life he'd chosen. But tonight, just for tonight, he had everything that mattered. And in the morning, he'd fight to keep it, just like he'd always done, just like he'd always do, until the day he died. The end.